Howdy, folks. Welcome back to Viva La Cats. I am your host, Justin Hiles, accompanied by my great friend, Steve Maurer, and we are here, as always, to give you the very best of the Bearcats every single week. We are in the thick of the football season. We are halfway through the regular season at this point. Bearcats got 6 games under the belt, and a lot is looking up. We are excited to see where this team goes, and we've got a lot to talk about today, and we're going to try to keep it tight as much as we can. And before that, just a quick mention, this is a 1012 Network show. And of course, you can find the 1012 Network on Twitter, Instagram, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you listen to your podcast, you can find the 1012 podcast as well. Shout out to Phil. Unfortunately, we couldn't get our schedules lined up this week. We were going to have Phil on to cover the Oklahoma State game that we're going to preview here in a little bit. So shout out to Phil. He is here with us in spirit today. And also here in spirit is Jim Kelly as well. Unfortunately, Jim Kelly had passed away this past week. Really unfortunate news for the Bearcats family. And it just sucks. It just sucks.
Yeah, so I actually got to see him a couple weeks ago. I went to the coaches show the week of the Northwestern State game with my brother, actually, and he's always been very courteous to me. Justin, I was a video guy. I'm like nothing, no skin off this guy's back, but he remembered me. He was always like very gracious when he saw me. He even like wished me a happy birthday, like on my Facebook page, like every year, like just something like it's the smallest of things, but it's like things like that. Like, he went out of his way to like do things like that for people, like, and again, like I was a nobody on the staff, like, I was just another student video assistant that rolled through, but he treated me like I was like, really special. And that made me feel special. And, I got to talk to him a couple weeks ago. Obviously nobody really knew until they announced it a couple weeks ago that he was dealing with a cancer diagnosis. And I didn't know when I got to talk to him, and I was just like, well, I just said, it's great to see you again. I really enjoy your calls. I listen to you all the time. So have a great season. I just kept it light in because it was after the show. People were trying to leave. You know how it is. So, but I was texting my brother. I was like, I was glad that we got to talk to him and see him because it's like one of those things where you hear somebody like that on the radio all the time, and you don't know like what people are like, when like
Right.
they're, and it's just different. But he could not have been more nicer to me, and everybody has kind of echoed this too, in all the interactions. And the man was just like, he was a Bearcat in the booth. He like grew up as a ball boy around the program. He went and played in the program. He came back and supported the program. Obviously, his dad is a big part of UC football and UC athletics in general as well. And just like the amount of lean years he probably had to watch, obviously, calling football games along and like being an analyst and seeing how far the program had come. And, the great thing about posting all those calls that we posted on our Twitter account was that you got to hear him be a fan in the booth and like have the same exact reaction that us fans were having at home. And that was just so special to kind of listen to a lot of those calls again, like his trademark, like, yeah, and just like, and then like I posted the video that they took from the radio booth the night of the UCF win in 2019. And I love Dan Hord's Facebook post today. He said he counted 33 fist pumps from Jim in that video. And he was always just, and Coach Satterfield talked about it today in his press conference. Like, it's just always like the most positive person, always asking like, how can I help? Like, what can I do? Connecting people. He was a great connector between the different teams and eras of Bearcat football. And, just an icon of the program, man. And he'll be, sorely missed. And I'm just really sad. It was definitely a sad day for the Bearcat program.
Yeah, for sure. And it's unfortunately one of those things where, like you said too, you lose a voice in the booth like that, and it feels a little foreign when that voice isn't there. Unfortunately too, like compounding on this, Tony being cut too from, that role that he had. it's kind of like, again, I think Mo actually had said it this past week. It's just like you get so used to hearing that, and then all of a sudden it's just that person's just not there.
Yeah.
You're not getting that type of coverage. You're not getting that familiar voice that you love and you tune in for.
Mhm.
And that's always tough, and it's going to be difficult, I'm sure, for Dan and company to move on without him. But thankfully there is a lot that's going good for the Bearcats this season, and there's a lot that I'm sure Jim would be very happy about too. So, in those positive spirits, we're going to keep pressing forward.
Yes, sir.
Hopefully, the Bearcats keep winning. That's what we're looking for. I'm sure Jim would love that too.
Yeah,
Uh,
definitely.
Speaking of Bearcats winning, for the first time since 2022, it feels good to say the Bearcats are ranked. They are
Yes,
top
sir.
25.
Yes,
Um,
sir.
if we want to get real prickly, be sticklers here, they should be a little bit higher. Let's be honest. I mean, if we flip the way they should have been after the Iowa State game, they should be a little bit higher. However, they're in, and that's what we care about. It's nice just to finally see there's a little bit of recognition. Clearly, they've played very well, off to a fantastic start in the Big 12. They are now 3-0 after their W against UCF, the directional school, this past week, which we will break down that game here in a minute. But just kind of taking a moment to revel in the fact that the Bearcats are back on the national stage, amidst what I think was a lot of offseason kind of, not necessarily tension, but a lot of question marks. And again, because it's just kind of the new part of the new era of the transfer portal, is you really don't know what you're going to get every year. It's a mixed bag of a lot of possible results. There's a lot of the ceiling has gotten higher for a lot of teams, and the floor has gotten a lot lower too. And I think it's kind of widened the gap in what your expectations are every year, and you don't really get to it could go one way or the other. It could swing really hard. And you've seen this past week even has been very interesting, because a lot of teams that expected to be very good are not.
Yeah.
And so I think it's nice that, especially in this point in time, the Bearcats are taking advantage of that. And they've got a chance to go win and win now. Go do it. I mean, that's just great. And at the moment, there are three teams that are 3-0 in conference play. That's BYU, Texas Tech, and Cincinnati.
Yes,
Out of those
sir.
16 Big 12 teams, I don't know who all would have predicted that at this point, at this juncture in the season, but here we are.
Yeah, well, the crazy thing is too is that I think last year, like it was kind of a similar start too. We started off
Yeah,
5-2 last year, and they had obviously like a couple close losses in there. I think their two losses were by a combined 4 points. Start of the year, and then this year only losses by 3 points so far. So like and you get two wins over UCF in that same span within those 5 wins. So not too bad, but I think like it's definitely. I don't think there's been an issue of talent or scheme over the past this season and last year. 2023, I think we can all just chalk that one up and just not talk about that one again. I just don't think we had the guys, and that's okay. Like they
yep,
got the guys now, and they're kind of rolling, and I think like Sat's been kind of able to put this all together. But I tweeted this clip out last week from this College Football Insider show. But credit to the guys who are like bringing these guys in, like Zach Grant, Jack Griffith, like Cass Simmons. Like our high school and college and transfer portal recruiting have been just pretty nails, man. Like I've really enjoyed like the progress that some of the guys, like the young guys have made, like Jaquan Sanks. Marquez Parker, Monte Whedon, and like some of those young guys, what they've been able to do, as well as like the guys that we've gotten from the transfer portal. Like it seems like a different wide receiver every week is taking over the game. Caleb Goody, Cyrus Allen, Jeff Caldwell this past weekend. Obviously, Sorsby has been a huge get from that
right.
standpoint. But I think this year it's finally just all coming together right now, at least. And there's
Mm-hmm.
still 6 more games to go. We still got a long way to go. But just the fact that it's like feasible that people, again, are talking about Cincinnati. And then also, we can talk about this more in the game breakdown, but like I feel like the fans who are never happy, even after a win, are starting to like kind of crawl back out again. because they're
Mhm.
like, oh man, like those second halves, man, like, we should have won by more and all these penalties. Like, it, I don't know. To me, like, obviously, I know people. Um, I'm coming from a Reds fan point of view, people love
Right.
to just say that Cincinnati fans complain, and maybe there's a little bit of that, but
It's
also
true. It's
I
fair.
but also, like, just I love being at a college football a fan of a college football program where you can reasonably complain about wins and be like, "Man, they gotta play better," like, they ain't gonna go 11-1 if they don't clean some of that stuff up, Paul? So, it's just stuff like that that, like, it makes you feel kinda like we're in a big time program when, it's like the standard is so high that, it can only be met by like a 50-point win every time out. And we're not even in the American anymore. We're in the Big 12. It's just fun, man. Like, it's fun to do this and like fun to be around, and fun to be a fan of a program that is successful and is kind of, bounce back a little bit after a rough start the first couple of years
Absolutely.
in the
And
Big 12.
that's I think the biggest thing we're looking at now is just like, okay, has this program finally just now hit their stride and like hit the turnaround point, like undersat? I think everybody's just been waiting for like what's the moment, what's the thing that kind of just says, oh, this season's different.
Yeah,
Now, granted, like you said before, Steve, we were near this juncture last time.
yeah, for
We were near
sure.
this juncture. We started 5-2. But something is clearly different about this team in this year versus last year. And I think it's just their ability again to kind of win in the margins and find the gaps that are going to allow them to actually just control the game. I think so many times last year they played from behind, or if they had a lead, it just got eviscerated so quickly. Granted, we've seen some little remnants of that here and there. However, I think if you look at the UCF game this past week, which again we will talk about, but if you look at the UCF game and you look at the Iowa State game, um, you know, very easily there are a few calls that you could pick out that 100% changed the score line for those games and that changed that scoring margin. I think for the Bearcats, where you are putting your foot down a little bit more than I think the scoreboard actually shows, which is nice, and that's good because if the scoreboard's not showing it, some people will of course react in turn with that, but you just find those moments, and it's clear that they've been doing a much better job this season of taking care of business when they need to. Um, one stat that I'll just throw out there. The Bearcats did, just because of this past week, because of a little bit of a offensive slug, dropped down a little bit. Last week they were second in the country in total offense, and in one game, because we're still at that juncture in the season, in one game they dropped from second to 28th. However, still a very functional offense, clearly, and they've been doing a very good job for the most part this season. But we've got some specific things to unwrap. We're gonna pull the lid
Uncap,
off. I
yeah.
don't know. UCF sucks. Directional school. What direction are they? They are no longer central. They are down. The it points south, dude. I'm not gonna lie. My brain is fried. I've I've been. We've been at the
Well,
grindstone lately, and my brain is just soup. So
you know what's a good remedy for the old soup brain at the end of a long, hard day of work? That's right.
there it
Oh,
is, man. I
five
didn't
in
know
a
we were this
row,
weekly
baby.
tradition.
5 in a row. I mean, hey, so someone who was running our account on the Nebraska game just kept tweeting out pictures of Cincy Lights being consumed
Yeah.
before touchdown drives. I don't know who
Yep.
that was, some random person,
I don't
but,
know either.
hey, Cincy Light, we responsibly enjoy, and if we just keep winning, man, I think I'm just gonna have to keep purchasing. It's just, sorry,
It's just how
I'm
it
just
goes.
gonna have to do it. But I was at the game on Saturday, and I did get to enjoy. But Justin, I want to ask you, what did you think of Saturday's performance against UCF?
Um, echoing a little bit of what you said earlier, the crowd, who might be a little bit more boisterous as of late, it wasn't quite as dominant of a game, of course, following up after that Iowa State game. However, uh, they went out and they took care of business, and that was the most important part for me. You didn't have any really big rushing breakaways in this game where like guys really got going, which I think was just kind of I think to an element, the passing game was kind of there, but it was just a sluggish day for them overall.
Yeah.
However, they figured it out and they did just enough to, you know, get enough points on the board, and the defense did a fantastic job in this game. Of course, they got screwed over late. Terrible backdoor cover for those of you who took the Bearcats covering in this game. That was just awful, just absolutely putrid. That's 2 weeks in a row where a PI call changes the scoreline in a very dramatic way. Of course, for UCF, it was a little too late. However, it's still one of those situations where you're like, can we really like have a strong conversation with this? Brett Yormark and Big 12 refs, can like we talk about this, because we are in the stage where like staff is starting to be able to bet on games and everyone can bet on games now. So like, if the team wins, the team wins, but it's the difference in betting lines. And if the difference in betting lines is the end of result of a game when you're making a call like that, I'm just really sus, man. I'm really suspicious about it.
Yeah.
We can go on about that. I don't want to get too caught up in that, but it's certainly a conversation to be had, because you can't have that tight of a game be, have those situations called that late. That's just kind of BS.
Yeah, but like other than that, like the defense should have only given up 3 points. Like that was
Yeah.
kind of all I wanted to mention by that. Defense played well.
Yes.
UCF had like a 17 play drive that ended in a punt somehow. So like that's
Like a
just kind of
Naval
like
Academy
yeah,
type drive.
exactly. Yeah, workman like
Yeah.
they ended that in a punt. So um, I think the thing that you noticed from this offense or from this defense for UC was that there was a few passes here and there that were that were given up, but a lot of the third and fourth downs that UCF had to pick up were just because of the quarterback, just being able to scramble and get out because guys were covered and only rushing three or rushing four, and guys were able to get quarterback's able to get out, use his legs, and make a play. And they did stop him on a couple of those runs, including like the first UCF drive of the game, and then UC comes down and scores right after that. So, but I think the thing that I liked was that although it is a bend don't break, and you give up 400 yards, you're not going to always have the 2020 and 2021 Cincinnati Bearcats defense out there on the field for you. But I mean, where it mattered, they didn't give up points, and they might not have like the greatest stop rate in the world all the time, but I was impressed to see that like this UCF team has put up 20 points pretty consistently, if not more,
Mm-hmm.
against good or not as great as you see competition. And Bearcats held them to 11 and probably should have held them to 3. So I was really impressed by that. I call it a spiritual 3 points, just
Yeah.
because of that ending. But I think I did want to mention the offense real quick. Justin, I've gotten back into the stage of my fandom where I'm watching the weekly press conferences every Tuesday at noon. So but we've gotten to that point. So I got to hear Coach Satterfield talk about Jim Kelly today, but also he talked about how UCF ran 90 plays to Cincinnati's 48 and had the ball for 20 more minutes than UC did, and still credit to the defense again was only able to score a spiritual 3 points. So.
Yes.
I think this, if you look back at the Iowa State game, you look back at the Kansas game, when the offense had consecutive drives and they had constant chances to stay in rhythm, they were able to put up a lot of points quickly. And it's
Mm-hmm.
kind of hard to stop. Like it was almost like just a rolling bowl of knives in that first half of the Iowa State game when they just got rolling, and it felt like they weren't going to be stopped all day. And that's how they got up 31-7 near the end of the half. And like, there's just a couple misses here and there, a few 3 and outs that they just weren't able to do. Credit to UCF, they have a good defensive line. So there's
Yep.
the Satterfield mentioned that their DNs were able to set the edge, and our running backs weren't able to get out. Only 115 rushing yards, and 191 passing yards, and it's weird to have only about 300 yards of total offense and still win a game. But shout out to the guys on the aftermath from Bearcat
Mhm.
Journal. It's a different way to win a game than you've had to win in the past, and that shows signs of a team that's growing and evolving and becoming more of a rounded football team rather than just offense, 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 or defense, defense. Like they're
Right.
finding multiple ways to win games, and I think there's something also to how UCF had the ball at the end of the first half and then had the ball to start the second half again, and they didn't score. I think they scored a field goal at the end of the first half, and then they had to punt at the start of the second half. But they held the ball there for like an hour of real time, and
Right.
those you're just it's. I think this offense is kind of a little bit more rhythm based than some of our more previous offenses, and it kind of needs that time. Like if you think about it, when Iowa State was driving and they were getting like, maybe 2 first down conversions and then having to punt. UC was just getting the ball right back within like 5, 10, 15 minutes of real time. They
Right.
were just able to like keep the ball rolling. So I don't I kind of want to see, the offense break out again this weekend, and we'll talk about that a little bit coming up. But weird little down day for the offense, but a win's a win, and any of the guys will take that. And they
Mhm.
all seem to realize and know that they like didn't need to be yelled at. They knew like even in the post game, they all said like, we're happy with a win, but we're not satisfied with the performance. I believe that's a direct quote from Brandon Sorsby after the game. So and
Yeah.
again, another good sign. Like that's
Yeah.
I I think the thing that we might have forgotten over the last 2 years is these guys are competitors, and
Right.
they're naturally just like perfectionists. They want to do well. They've gotten to this power for college football level for a reason, and that's they're talented and they're smart and they know what they're doing and they know when they mess up. So I think as fans we should remember that too. And while they are still kids, they know like they know they mess up. Like it's just kind of how it happens. So um and I didn't see anybody going crazy at anybody. I'm not calling anybody out. It's more
Right.
just like they're gonna have down games, gonna have good games, bad games. As long as they still get that W at the end of the day, that's what matters.
Yeah, and I think that's, an important identifier too for the difference in this team as well. If you look back at least again under Satterfield, if you look back at 23, you by the time you got to that Houston game in 23, they're like, we're gonna. This feels like just ripping off a band-aid and finally getting that cast off. Like it was just you have to go out and kind of celebrate that. Last year, they had a strong start and just a very unfortunate finish. I think the difference in mentality this year is like those guys again, like winning is not good enough. And that's I think a mark again of a good quality team. It's the same thing why like you'd see, guys like Nick Saban with Alabama, it's like if they're not beating a team by like 30, it's like you're not actually doing your best. Like you're not trying your hardest. There's different things that you could have done to just absolutely decimate that team that you absolutely should. And those kind of things, I think, like, again, it's just a mark of like a different team. And it's, I think, for fans, like you should just kind of accept it like a win's a win, because these games are tough, especially, in a power conference like this. But, it's nice just to see this team, even in a way, kind of policing themselves like, yeah, we could have won that game by more. Like we could have done more and we will. And we're going to show that. And that's, I think, just again, it's a mark of a team that their aspiration is not what our aspiration was. Just go and bowl. Like their aspiration is they want that Big 12 championship. They want to be in Arlington. They
Yeah.
want to go to the college football playoff. They want that spot. And that I think is just so relieving to see that difference in mentality, because it is very apparent and it shows in the way they play. One last thing I want to mention on this UCF game too. After the game, as this goes, UCF does have the 24th ranked defense and total defense in the country. So again, just kind of credit to them and their defense. I think that's why you did see a little bit of an offensive slowdown from the Bearcats this past week. It was something to be respected, and as a few other people had said before this game too, that was going to be the thing that kept UCF in this game. And it wasn't a big gap the way it should have been, in the 20-3, but it was certainly something where if their offense was able to be competitive, it would certainly help. The Bearcats in comparison, total defense 87th. Not quite the tried and true Bearcats defense of the past. However, it definitely doesn't feel like that, but that's where they sit at the moment, which I think is just kind of interesting because I feel like in the games we've had, I think again that's a little bit of a false sort of placement too, because if you take the probably 14 to 17 points off the board that Iowa State absolutely should not have had in that game, they're probably a little bit higher. They're probably in the 60s at least. So again, just some interesting notes there, but that all leads us into again the 5-1 the 5-1 Bearcats going to Stillwater this week, trying to find number 6, trying to find that what feels like so long, that sneaky number 6 has been evading us for a long time, and trying to again, hopefully, I mean, kind of want to beat the crap out of them. Like, I mean, like you gotta kick them while they're down, because I don't know if anybody remembers the last time we played Oklahoma State, but they weren't very nice to us.
No,
It wasn't. They let us have it. They let us have it while we were down. Like they
yeah,
beat our ass. Like
yeah,
it was not close.
yeah. Time for payback. Just real quick, I did tweet out earlier tonight. I said we're now 6 games into football season. The Cats are 5-1 and 3-0 in the Big 12. How are we feeling, Bearcat Nation? And got a couple different replies that I just want to read real quick. Andrew said, "Not sold on coach, but hope I'm wrong. Winning is fun!" Exclamation point. Fair point. I can agree with that. R.I.P. Sokolowski says, We're 5-2 last year before the bottom fell out. Would feel a lot better at 7-1, and I agree. Going into Utah at 7-1 would feel great. Obviously, first task at hand, Oklahoma State, and then another one from Cincy Doinks. Shout out. I'm surprised. I was wrong about Sorsby, even though he makes some wild, questionable throws at times, but they're not ints. I still don't like Satterfield and think he can't manage the game very well, but their boys are playing good football together as a T.E.A.M team. LOL. So shout out to the people responding. We got a few more responses that were pretty positive, but I think that's a good little section of the fan base. Like we mentioned, started off well, got a good chance to go and get that 6 win this upcoming Saturday. Bearcats are favored by 22.5. I don't know about you, Justin, but something about like just anytime my team is favored by a lot, I've just
Double
kind of
digits,
just
scary.
yeah, it's just I mean that the reason I did not bet Bearcats minus the points, and why I told Dolly, I would not touch this spread with a 10-foot pole was because of just chance for that backdoor cover. 22 points is a lot of points. I do hope we just take care of business easily. I don't know if Oklahoma State's going to have the shirtless guys in that one section. Again, shout out to them. That was fun. Hey, we've known the past couple of years for having to find a way to have fun in a down season. So all the respect to them. I hope you lose another one this weekend and maybe win a couple more near the end of the year. But so
Honestly, I really, to a degree, I'm just going to cut you off here real quick, Steve. I honestly hope that they don't win any other games, because we need the bottom to stay the bottom, because this team cannot cannibalize any of our good Big 12 teams, because we need more teams in the playoff. And if Oklahoma State is beating anybody left on their schedule, we've got some problems.
That's a good point.
They should not, because they have Cincinnati, Texas Tech, Kansas, and Kansas State, and then they finish with Iowa State. They might get UCF, but they also might go like 1-11, and I kind of hope they do.
the toilet bowl between UCF and Oklahoma State, that'll be fun. And hey, UCF still beat North Carolina, so just imagine how bad that team is.
Yes, that is true.
Real quick, I'm going to read off Oklahoma State's SP Plus numbers for you, Justin.
Go ahead.
Overall, do you have a guess on where they are? There are reminded that there are 136 teams in the
Yes, of
FBS level
course.
this year.
SP Plus, I'm going to put them at 88.
Oh, sorry, 112th.
Ooh, ooh. I
For
didn't even know it was
context,
possible for a Power Four team to like drop below 100. That's crazy.
yeah, Stanford is at 108, and North Carolina is at 103. So those are the other, and Boston College is at 97. So those are the other ones with near the 100 range. So no one else, no one else from the Power Four near there.
It's
But
certainly something to be under Stanford and
definitely,
North Carolina too. Quite honestly, like
yeah,
that's saying
yeah.
something.
Seriously, yeah. So Oklahoma State's offense is 111th in the country. They do have another starting quarterback. I was trying to find his name earlier because it's like a backup. Oh, it's yeah. So Sam Jackson the fifth, Samuel, not Samuel L. Jackson, but Sam Jackson the fifth, who started the season as a wide receiver for Oklahoma State. He's bounced around. I think he's like on his like 6th year or something like that. A couple different schools, but they basically just ran out of playable quarterbacks. So they are just kind of going to this guy. And credit to him, he could throw the ball a little bit. But Houston took care of business, and so hopefully the Bearcats can take care of business real quick. So Oklahoma State, their offense is 111th, defense is 109th, special teams 30th. So they got a decent special teams, but
Yeah,
I hope we just lay the wood and hammer these guys. I don't care that it's homecoming. I don't care that they're probably going to fill up the building, which is cool. Like, shout out to them, like for filling up the building, like even in the down season. I do respect that. But I know Brownie was giving us a lot of crap for leaving at halftime of homecoming. I'm hoping we do that to Oklahoma State this weekend.
yeah.
And because
Like
of that,
it's called homecoming for a reason. Like go home. Like that's what should be happening this week. Like Oklahoma State fans, please just go home.
go to Eskimo Joe's, get some chili cheese fries, have yourself a night. Hopefully you're out of there by 9:30 and have a safe drive home. So
Yeah.
because of that, Justin, spreads 22 and a half, and the total on the game is 58 and a half. What do you say a little 49-10, like just take care of business, take the over, no bad beats here, and we just call it a night.
You said it's 58 and a half.
Yeah.
Wow, you're just putting it right on the money, aren't you?
I mean, I can go up to 56 if you want me to.
Yeah, okay. I mean that's fair. I would that is 22 and a half is a lot of points. That's a
It is
lot
a
of
lot of
points.
points. It's on the
Uh
road, but I mean, and I know there's probably not as many guys from the 2023 roster that are still on the team, but like, I'm sure the coaches will remember that. Like, it doesn't, I know that's not the players, that's kind of not really a thing anymore with the changing
right.
rosters, but the coaches are going to remember that one.
Yeah, that is true. Um Here's my thing. I look at this. I think that I have some respect for Houston's defense. Okay. I don't know where I feel about Arizona or Baylor. Um of course Oregon on their schedule made them an absolute grease mark as expected. But they managed to put up 27 on Baylor. They managed to put up a 13 on Arizona on the road, and they managed to put up 17 on Houston's pretty decent defense. Um, I think for that reason, I would just say that the Bearcats are not going to cover in this game. However, they're definitely going to score a lot of points. I think, they actually, Oklahoma State's most recent game was against Houston is 39-17. I feel like that's a pretty reasonable line to look at there. I get it, but I think it'll be a little bit tighter than that. I think they're going to put some points on the board, but 22 and a half is just way too big of a gap. So I'd say Oklahoma State's going to cover. I'd take the under too. I think they'll cover. I just don't know if they're going to score enough points to really Oklahoma State would have to put up points to help cover.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
I mean,
they hit the over. So I just don't see it happening.
yeah,
I think it's going to be a lot of Bearcats points, enough Oklahoma State points, but not enough to hit the over.
fair enough. Fair enough. I mean, I could see us hopefully having another better defensive game, and
Yeah.
hopefully get that offense. Nice little get out of a slump weekend right before we got to come back home next weekend. But task at hand first, take care of business in Stillwater, and show them you remember what happened.
Yes. Remember the Alamo. Uh, yeah, I think I really do think this will be a strong Bearcats W. I don't know if it'll be that big of a gap, but I think they'll win convincingly, and I'm sure the rest will call some, just non-existent pass interference, and they'll score some points.
Well,
And
at
finish.
least we know they're not trying to protect Oklahoma State this week.
That's true. They're off the roster as of the moment. They're
Yeah.
off the roster. They're no longer the
We're
darlings
gonna
of
have a
the
clean game now
oh,
that we're
yeah.
not really worried about them.
Technically, they should be protecting us right now because, again, as I mentioned before, and I'll mention it again, the Big 12 needs to not cannibalize this year. Like the ACC is doing it to itself to a degree. Clemson is definitely not making the college football playoff.
Nope.
Notre Dame's probably not going to make the college football playoff. Again,
Mm.
not ACC, but they're probably not going to make it. They'd have to win out. I think they have to win out at this point. We'll see. And you got a few other teams that are self-sabotaging. Like Penn State's not going to be in there. Are you going to put in another, Big Ten school on top of that? Probably not. I don't know. I think the door's kind of open this year, and that's where I think it is really important again for the Big 12, like the teams that are winning to keep winning. BYU,
Mhm.
Texas Tech, Cincinnati, you got to keep winning. And of course, like I don't know if Tech has BYU on the schedule. They do. Okay, they got them. It's either the week before or week after us. I think it's the week. We'll see. I'd have to look at the schedule, but it's either the week before or week after we play BYU. So um, that'll be a very interesting 2 weeks for the Big 12 to see where those teams kind of sort out. And you still have, of course, Utah and Arizona State kind of in tow. And technically, let's be technical here. Houston's kind of like
They're still
they're in the background.
yeah.
They're not probably not going to do anything, but they're in the background and they're there. And if you look at their schedule, Houston has probably by far the most favorable schedule left. They're currently sitting at 5-1. Steve, you need to hear this. They're at 5-1, and what's left on their schedule is Arizona, Arizona State, West Virginia, UCF, TCU, and Baylor. I mean, there's a shot like they only lose to Arizona State there. They might lose to TCU or Baylor. I think they get Arizona. I think they get West Virginia. I think they get UCF. I want to believe that they wouldn't be able to do that, but I really think like there's an outside shot they could be hanging around. They're going to be
Actually,
annoying.
sorry, Justin. I do have to remind you that the UCF space game, in which UCF has never lost, will be against Houston this year. So there's your other loss. So my apologies to Houston. Oklahoma State was ranked like top 15, and UCF in 2023 was awful. And Oklahoma State lost 45-3 in the space game. So UCF becomes a whole nother team for the space game. So I'm sorry, Houston, you are not Space City. It will probably be the Hilton Night managers taking that one. So there's your other conference loss for them, Justin.
Yeah, that's tough. They will probably lose to Disney Tech at that point.
But if they go 10-2, like in Houston, it just goes like the most Indiana Big 12 10-2 you've ever seen.
Yeah, I mean, well, that's kind of what I'm saying. Like, I think and again, look at all the other conferences out there, man. Like, again, Indiana is making it interesting for sure, but the SEC, like, I think there's just kind of this level that they're at where, whether earned or not, like any team that kind of comes up from the SEC, you're like, okay, cool. Like, I mean, I figured, yeah, you're probably going to make the college football playoff because you're in the freaking SEC, unless you're like a Vanderbilt. Or unless you're, I don't know. I mean, even Missouri is good enough now at this point, I guess. But like it's kind of one of those things like with the Big 12, it's like it really is anybody's race and anybody can kind of make it. And it's kind of fun to watch.
Yeah.
But again, those teams need to keep winning. So we'll see where it goes. My last point on this conversation before we just recap real quick our leaderboards here.
And I think we have a combined game of the week. I think we both know
Yes,
where we're going.
easily. My last point here is if you look at the college football playoff field, we've got what 2 more weeks before rankings? 1 week before rankings? I think it's
I
week
thought it
8,
was
right?
like the first week of November. So we
Yeah,
probably
we
got a
might
couple
be.
more
Yeah,
weeks.
yeah. We might be a few more. Okay.
By the way, BYU plays Utah in Lubbock, or sorry, BYU plays Texas Tech in Lubbock on November 8th. So,
Yes.
2 weeks before BYU comes to Cincinnati.
Yep. So, with all of that said, I think I talked about this today. I think there's an outside shot they could squeak 3 teams in, but I really think they could get 2 teams in this year without too much trouble. But again, it's going to require you to have a Texas Tech probably in the Big 12 championship and losing in the Big 12 championship. And I think that's the way you get to it because they're clearing away at the top. You kind of have to have them be there. You kind of have to let them keep winning, but they have to lose that Big 12 championship game. And I think that's how you get a BYU, a Cincinnati, or a Utah in there.
Preferably to Cincinnati, but
Preferably a Cincinnati. That'd be great.
that's just
And I
me.
mean, winning the Big 12 championship, beating Texas Tech in the Big 12 championship, I would quite honestly just combust. Yeah.
I mean, I'll be in Austin that
Rotate.
weekend. It's only like a hour flight, $50. I mean, if they just happen to make my day, I will be in the state of Texas that day. So,
I will be calling off of work and I will be making that trip. If they make it to the Big 12 championship game, I will be going.
Well,
Mark
howdy,
my
brother.
words.
Come on
Mark
down.
my words.
I'll be wearing my cowboy hat I got from Nashville. So
There you go. Yeah.
Put a big CPAW on it because I got a black one. So
Nothing like more fake Cowboys. Steve, time to catch up real fast on this Big 12 head-to-head. We were going to try to keep it in 45 so we can keep running through this. We're going to keep it fast.
Yep, real fast. So
we
Justin, well, just you've heard the teams that are on
Yes.
Each of our squads, but
Yes.
just a quick recap: you, myself, and the Ghost team all have 17 wins, and unfortunately, Joel took another loss this weekend with TCU losing to K-State, my boys, and then Oklahoma State and losing, and West Virginia losing to the bye week. So he's got 4 unalives to run right now. So,
this guy is stacking them up.
Yeah.
That's tough.
Yeah. And then, in our game of the week, real quick, your team and mine, our BYU Cougars, are hosting Utah for the first time in what might be 5 years. I'm not entirely sure. But, brother, there is some toxicity that does not have profanity going on the Twitter streets this week. So,
and there's they're catching straight, there are stray dogs out there getting caught into this fight too. Everybody's getting involved. This is the unholiest of holy wars.
The dirty sodas are getting tossed around like crazy. Kyle Whittingham would not even mention the team by name, but would not even say BYU's name in his press conference this week. This is what rivalries are all about, folks. I love it. I love it. I love it so much.
I mean, this game is going to be literal cinema. There's no other way around it. It's interesting too because I think if this were at Utah, it would be probably not necessarily, it would be just as contentious, but I think because of where BYU's at right now and because of where Utah is, understandably, with how they've performed thus far, they're both good teams. BYU is undefeated, but Utah looks like the stronger team right now, a little bit more complete. I think it's going to get chippy. I think it's going to get real chippy.
I mean, hey, Utah was awful last year, and they still gave BYU a game, and their AD put his mean finger in the ref's face and held a press conference after the game. So this is a classic. Just call it. I love college football. So
dude, I'm excited for this. I'm
Yes.
ready. I will. We will be seated for this game.
Well, it's split screen because it's the same time as the UC game. So Justin, are you going to have your audio on the UC game, or are you going to have your audio on the BYU
It's going to be on the Holy War. I love my Bearcats to death. It'll be there, but I am going to 100% have the audio on that game because it's going to be a lot more electric. And if this game goes the way that we hope for the Bearcats, I mean, you could turn that off at halftime and be
could be main screening that boy. Yep.
You could be main screen. You could be solo dolo in that Holy War. Hopefully,
who's going to be solo dolo probably after this weekend? In the unemployment line, looking for a new place to work. And it's unfortunately our former head coach Luke Fickell, who I don't really like to wish ill will on our previous coaches. We can definitely have our year and be mad at them, but we can thank them for what they did for the program. But Justin, when you self-own yourself like this, I don't know if you know the whole story, so I'll just say it for you.
Catch us up. Yeah,
self-owns just need to be mentioned on this podcast.
Yes.
I think we can all have a good hearty laugh, regardless of your feelings on the coach. Yeah. So last year, Justin, Wisconsin, who has a rivalry with Iowa, they travel to Iowa City and they lose 42-10. Luke Fickell always won for rivalries. By the way, he tried to call Miami in his first year here, that team up Northwest, and nobody like no. It was like the Tim Robinson sketch, dude. Like nobody said shit, dude. Like
Yeah.
nobody said it. Like nobody was buying that. So
Crickets.
yes, so he's always won for a rivalry, and so in the offseason and in spring practice, he made his players defense after spring practices do 42 push-ups to remind them of how many points that Iowa had scored on them the previous year, and just to keep that in their head that they were not going to let that happen again. And so, fast forward to Saturday night. After all of that, doing all of that, having that in the locker room, probably, if I know this strength staff that he has, what do they do, Justin? They get beat even worse this time around. They lose they lose
Objectively.
37 nothing. First home shutout loss since 1980. Wearing their throwback uniforms, they fail to score a point. And the Iowa football account trolls them after the game with a video of Bucky Badger doing push-ups while jump around plays, and the caption says 37 more to just reference the push-ups that the defense had to do. And then in the post-game press conference, Fickle was like, "Well, this is the low point. This is definitely where
Oh, that's
I
an
did not want to
understatement,
be."
buddy.
So,
Let
um,
this hold on. Let me just mention this too, real quick. Mark Gronowski in this game, who might, according to who you ask, but a subtle majority of people would probably be the worst QB in the Power Four. They made him look good in this game, and that's saying something. Like, it's hard to make an Iowa quarterback look good, and I mean
he looked good.
it's ugly down there. Like, I mean, you just gave like Kirk Ferentz like that little bit of juice and revival that he needed, where he's like, I might just stay here till I die. Like, I mean, that guy was clearly on his way out a little while ago,
Until
and
after he dies, he'll just be
the ghost of Kirk Ferentz.
the Richard Nixon head from Futurama. Just
Yeah,
coaching Iowa on the
yes,
sideline
there
still.
you go. That's a good little
Good little
memorabilia.
reference there. But I just had to shout out our man Luke. Hopefully the TEAM is really holding it together. Seems like he might be on his last stand this weekend. He plays a little team that he used to coach for and play for from his hometown. So I hope they just boa constrictor him and just like let him go peacefully. I hope they just, because he knows Ryan Day, like he knows a lot of those people that are on that staff. I hope they're nice to him, and then they just let him enjoy his buyout and just walk off into the sunset.
Yeah,
Like
just for a quick recap for people too, he lost in the past 4 weeks by 14 points, 17 points, 14 points, and 37 points. And the you know what the call up is after that? After all of that, you get to play Ohio State, Oregon, Washington, Indiana, Illinois, and Minnesota.
they might
Uh,
not win another game this year, dude.
they might not. They might not.
They
And
they yeah. So I
it
mean,
is bad news bears for your boy, Mr. Luke
but
Fickle.
hey, I don't really feel bad for him. He's going to have a nice little $25 million buyout. Maybe he can build another barn in his future house somewhere.
Yeah,
If you
him
know,
and
you know.
Franklin, yeah, it's gonna be interesting. We're in an interesting world now. Who would have thought? Who would have thought? Hey, cheers to us, Steve. Cheers to us. Who would have thought before this season that we'd be staring down the barrel and looking at a guy like James Franklin getting canned and saying, "Is Scott Satterfield like, I mean, we're not going to pay this buyout, are we? Like, we might actually keep him around. Like, we might be talking about an extension. Who would have thought?"
Well, let's hold off
I
on
know
those
everybody
things.
who heard that is just like, ooh, ah, ah.
Let's see
No,
if we can
again,
get another quarterback in
as
here.
Steve said at the last week or the week before, we're playing with house money, folks. It's great.
Yeah,
It's great.
yeah.
That's
Well,
where
and
we're at right
also, if I had gone back to the day that Scott Satterfield was hired here, and I told you that he would last longer at Cincinnati than Luke Fickell would at Wisconsin, I think
now.
everybody would have slapped me. But just think about that.
Yeah, there's a lot of the like what could have been, moments that we could definitely unpack. There's a lot more, but yeah, it's did we win this trade off? Steve, that's the last question we'll ask this week before we go to the Bearcat Sports wrap up. Did the Bearcats win this transaction by signing Scott Satterfield and having Luke Fickle walk?
I don't think you're wrong because off the top of my head, Scott's got 13 wins here as the football coach of the University of Cincinnati Bearcats. And let's see how many wins he has as the head coach of the Badgers. 15. Okay. So, Scott's just got to catch up, and Luke might not be able to catch back up to Scott Satterfield. So,
he will not. He will most likely not be presented the opportunity to do so,
no.
and he might. It might be just 2 more weeks, and Scott Satterfield just matches him, and that'll be it. Because Wisconsin ain't beating Ohio State, and they sure ain't beating Oregon, and they sure ain't beating Indiana. So I don't think it's happening. I think his friend Ryan Day will turn him into a grease mark this weekend, and that will be the end of the Luke Fickle era in Wisconsin. So yes, on to the Bearcat Sports wrap up. Steve, let's get out of here.
Let's do it. Let's start in 3, 2, 1. Men's basketball, real quick. Tip times were announced today. Season starts in less than a month. So no conference games on ESPN Plus. I'm sure the people are happy about that. Both Houston games, home and away, will be on Big Fox. And there's also a Kansas game on Big CBS as well. There are 2 Peacock games on there, unfortunately. So you're going to probably have to have about 5 or 6 streaming services if you would like to watch every single game.
Welcome to the new era of college sports.
Or you can just listen to Dan and Terry and just have a much better time hearing Terry Nelson use many adjectives to call games. So I'm ready for Terry to be back. I'm so excited.
I miss his voice, his sweet, sweet voice.
It was announced today that Jalen Haynes will be out indefinitely with a lower body injury. Hopefully not very long. We did have something similar last year with Dan Skillings where he was out indefinitely, but did come back right before the shootout. So hopefully Jalen Haynes is feeling better. Bearcats do play in a not so secret scrimmage this Friday night against Michigan up in Ann Arbor. So here's the Cats. Hopefully they can not embarrass themselves. It's going to be televised. So just let's keep it close, fellas. So let's move on to swimming and diving. They got a clean sweep in their meet against NKU this past Friday. So they will take on Miami next at I'm sorry, it was not the natatorium. But I still like to say Keating Aquatic Center on Friday. Keating Aquatic Center on Friday. So bring home the aquatic victory bell for us, folks. Soccer team. The soccer team fought UCF to a draw this past Sunday at Gettler Stadium. They will take on Kansas State and Kansas this weekend in a 2-game swing through the Sunflower State. They will be swimming their way to Kansas, just like cross country will be running their way to the Angel Mounds Invite in Evansville, Indiana this weekend. Freshman Nixon Kogi was named the Big 12 Cross Country Runner of the Week last week after his electric debut in the Notre Dame Invitational when he won the dang thing. So shout out to Nixon. Let's see if he can win another one this weekend in Evansville. He does like to run in the state of Indiana. Women's golf will compete in the Power Cat Invitational in Manhattan, Kansas next Monday and Tuesday. Men's golf is currently competing in the Bryson Invitational in South Carolina. And to close this off, Justin, I mentioned it, but UC Club Hockey is already 6 games into the season, and guess what? They're 5-1, baby. They are 5-1 right now. They're scrapping their way. They've got 2 straight sweeps over Central Michigan and Mercyhurst. They will head down to Tuscaloosa this weekend to take on the Tide, baby. Roll Tide, baby. Roll Ice Tide for a 2-game set down in, well, I don't know if it's Tuscaloosa. I don't know if they have an ice rink there, but somewhere nearby. So shout out to all the teams that wear red and black, including our friends on the club hockey team, the Bearcats. So, and also don't root for Luke Fickle this weekend. He's going to be fine. He'll just ride off into the sunset, have that nice check. He'll be okay.
I'm ashamed to admit that kind of made me out of breath a little bit. I was really selling that here, Steve. If those of you who aren't watching the video side of this podcast, you need to. You're missing.
Oh, don't worry. We're clipping that. We're clipping.
Oh yeah. You got to get your little swimmies on when you get to the swimming and diving moment. So
that's right.
That's how it goes. All right. I think that's it, Steve.
I think that's it.
We covered it all. We did it all. We're like 10 minutes over schedule, but that's fine. We did it all. We got it all covered. The Bearcats, again, 5-1, looking to improve to 6-1. They get none other than Oklahoma State left. I don't really think that's going to be close, but we'll see what happens. Maybe they'll just beat the crap out of them, and that's what we're all looking for. So
beat the crap out of them.
For myself, for Steve, it's been fantastic having your ears, maybe your eyes this week. Have a fantastic week. Remember, this is a 10-12 podcast, part of the 10-12 network. Make sure to check it out.
Shout out to Phil.
I'm sorry, Phil, for what's about to happen. I really am. I'm sorry, man. It's going to be sad. And with all that said, thanks for listening. Let's go Bearcats. Let's get that dub. Viva!
I got some.
Oh, get your swimmies on.
Eskimo Joe's just really has like some wonderful cheese